They wouldn't let anybody into the city. If we could get to Baton Rouge, they could come and get us in Baton Rouge. The I-10 was gone, okay? The twin span over the Wrigley's at Lake Pontchartrain, the storm surge had pushed that inland. The I-10 there was gone away. And to the west, the I-10 goes like a roller coaster up on bridges and down to ground level and so forth, and that was all flooded. So the I-10 was gone. Neighbor, woman named Alice, came by and asked to use the phone. She had a brother on Dauphine Island in Alabama, and she wanted to see how he was, and she was going to go over there because they, for some reason, they did all right apparently. She told us if we were ready in an hour, she'd drive us across the lake. Well, we were ready right then. I had the papers, all the house papers, and my dog Anna and some water and some dog food on a two-wheeler. And we got into, Alice and Frank and I, 6 dogs and a goat, got into this mini Blazer, not a full-size Blazer, some kind of mini Blazer. It was pretty cramped. Frank, who was like just this side of about 300 pounds, was crammed into his seat in the back seat. Couldn't sit in the front seat because it had to be in the front seat. That's where the goat was. It was a little African goat. I'm not a goat person, but this species of goat does really well with horses, and Alice had horses down in St. Bernard, so she also had this goat, because apparently these goats interface really well with horses. What do I know? We had to go over the bridge, the GNO, Greater New Orleans Bridge, and that, we drove there, and that was the first look I got at the city, because I had never ventured very far from the house. And like I said, it didn't flood in our neighborhood. But then I got a look at the city, and it was pretty raggedy. It was pretty raggedy. I mean, there were people all over the place just in a state of, they were kind of stunned. They were just in a state of confusion. They were just standing around, I mean, just like, what's going on? What next? Okay. When you live in a 21st century American city, you expect some response from the powers that be, but there was none. We got onto the bridge. Amazingly, somehow, Alice was driving, somehow she got on the wrong bridge. I mean, there are 2 bridges over the Mississippi River. One goes east-west, one goes west-east. And somehow we got on we were going to the west bank on the east bank bridge or something like that. And up ahead of us, there was a phalanx of police cruisers headed in our direction. So everybody held their breath, and they went past us into the city. We got up onto the West Bank Expressway, where we encountered a police officer who had stepped right out of central casting, okay? I mean, he literally had bandoliers of shotgun shells across his chest. Couple of missing teeth, and he was in no mood. Okay, he was in no mood. We made a U-turn and headed upriver. The only way to get out of the city at that point was to get on the West Bank Expressway, go to Route 55 up north, which runs between Lake Pontchartrain and Lake Maurepas. That goes north to the 610. Then you take a right on the 610, and you get to where the Causeway Bridge empties into Covington, and you continue east on that. But Alice let us off right there at the intersection of the 610 and Causeway Boulevard, with about 3/4 of the population of New Orleans in front of a Waffle House. It was raining. Why wouldn't it be raining? And so I sat on the curb with the dogs. We had 3 dogs. I had Anna, my dog, and Frank had Judy's 2 dogs, 2 this big. He went into the Waffle House to make a phone call. Not surprisingly, the payphone in the Waffle House wasn't working. But he did talk to one of the police officers there. They were, of course, the police officers in Covington were directing traffic at the gas station. The gas station actually had power and gas, so it could have devolved into something really chaotic really quickly. So the police were there making sure everything went smoothly. And one of the police officers had a cell phone that worked. So Frank was able to call Judy up in the Holiday Inn in Jackson, Mississippi, and they said, well, we'll come and get you. Well, that's a 3-hour ride. And it was warm, so the rain wasn't too bad. I sat in the rain. You couldn't get in the Waffle House. Right? And they have such a peaceful reputation in any case, all right? And I wasn't hungry, so they came and got us. We drove to Jackson, Mississippi, where they had a couple of rooms or one room or a hallway or whatever. I stayed, I had the clothes on my back, okay. And so they went into the Walmart there in Mississippi to buy some clothes. And I stayed out with the truck with the dogs. And a couple of people come along, and I was sitting there talking to Anna. She's like this big Rottweiler pit bull mix. It looked like a mountain lion, but was really a biscuit, really, really sweet. And she was sitting there, and they came along, of course, they wanted to come and talk to the dog. And they asked me, and we got talking, and I told them I just left New Orleans, and I'm on my way to Pennsylvania. And the dude says to me, well, you're about my size. Why don't I go home and get you some clothes, and I'll meet you at the Holiday Inn. And so when we got to the Holiday Inn, he was waiting for me with a box full of clean clothes. One-on-one Americans are okay. When they get in groups, they kind of lose their mind. But one-on-one, they're pretty generous. So I still have, he's thinner than I am, but I still have the belt. The next morning, we drove to Pennsylvania.